Good morning, everybody. So, after the laboratory diagnosis and challenges, we will move to some clinical aspects and management. HIV with other viral co-infections, mainly the basics for residents. And so, this will be the outline how liver disease is different in mono-infection versus co-infections, what are the various drug categories, how to manage co-infections, and there is always a potential for HBV reactivation, and we should never forget post-SVR care also. So this is the global burden of HIV, HCV and HBV co-infection. Overall 370 million HBV worldwide, 130 million HCV worldwide and 40 million HIV. And of the 40 million, 4 million are co-infected with HBV, 5 million infected with HCV and 0.5 million infected with all the three viruses. So if we see HIV, then about 7 to 10% will be infected with either HBV or HCV, and 1% will be infected with both the viruses. This is the Indian data on prevalence of HCV and HBV in HIV infected patients. Of all HIV infected patients, HBsAg positivity varies from 3.5 to about 30%. And HCV positivity varies 1.6 to 7 to 8%, and all the three viruses positivity in 2.5 to 0.16%. So if we see liver diseases in HIV infection, we should never forget other comorbidities besides hepatitis B and C. There can be opportunistic infections in HIV which can affect liver. These are the other causes: ethanol abuse. Even drugs which are used in HIV can cause liver diseases. Other diseases like diabetes, dyslipidemia, fatty liver disease, immune deterioration. These are the other causes by which HIV can affect the liver. And these are the mechanisms by which HIV can modulate liver disease. HIV can increase the fibrosis, accelerated fibrosis, by acting through the hepatic stellate cells. It can act directly on the hepatocytes and then activate fibrosis. Then through antiretroviral therapy, which leads to dyslipidemia, insulin resistance, hepatotoxicity, again accelerated fibrosis can occur. HIV can lead to immune activation with monocyte, Kupffer cell, T cell activation leading to accelerated fibrosis. Immune dysregulation leads to this. Immune deficit leads to this. And recently data on altered gut barrier which can lead to microbial translocation and accelerated fibrosis. So if we see the rates of liver fibrosis progression, then as compared to HCV alone, this HCV with HIV have accelerated fibrosis progression throughout the course of the HCV infection. Now if we see this data, then disease progression in HCV monoinfection versus HCV HIV co-infection, it depends on the level of HIV RNA and also on the CD4 count. If we see this graph, cumulative incidence of hepatic decompensation, this blue is HCV monoinfection, this is co-infection with suppressed HIV RNA, and this is co-infection with high HIV RNA. So we can see cumulative incidence of hepatic decompensation is less in HCV monoinfection, more than that in co-infection with HIV RNA suppressed, and highest in when HIV RNA is positive. Similar is the case with the CD4 counts. This is the monoinfection, this is the HIV HCV co-infection with CD4 count suppressed, and this is HCV HIV co-infection with high CD4 count. So again, this is the overall table showing that overall mortality, liver disease related mortality, and the risk of HCC is also more elevated in HIV HBV co-infected individuals as compared to HIV monoinfected or HBV monoinfected individuals. If we see overall independent predictors of liver related death in HIV patients, CD4 count, IV drug abuse, HCV status and HBV status. These are the independent predictors of relative risk of death in HIV infected individuals. This is one of the largest study of end stage liver disease in HIV, HCV and HBV co-infection, and it has been shown that risk of end stage liver disease, they had divided their cohort into 3 times periods: early, middle and moderate, and they have shown that the risk of end stage liver disease in modern ART era with HIV infections as adjusted odd ratio of 1. With HIV, if there is one risk, then if HCV co-infection 6.9 times, if HBV co-infection 7.5 times, if HCV plus HBV, then it is 17 times. But in the same study, it has been found that actually throughout the 3 eras, there have been no decline in the end-stage liver disease incidence. Both negative, HCV positive, HBV positive, both positive. So in the 3 eras, the end-stage liver disease incidence is almost the same. So let's move to what are the drug categories for HIV HCV co-infection. So to understand the mechanism of action, we have to go in some detail about the various life cycles. We know that replication of any virus has purpose so that it can form nucleic acid and proteins for assembly. We can see in HIV infection nucleic acid, and in all the 3 viruses nucleic acid is there and surrounded by various proteins. Nucleic acid, DNA in this case, surrounded by proteins, RNA surrounded by various types of proteins. So the purpose of replication is to finally form RNA and proteins, DNA and proteins, and RNA and proteins in all the 3 infections. But how they achieve this is different in each case. In HIV, there is HIV genomic RNA because it is an RNA virus. It has to convert to DNA, so there is a reverse transcriptase. RNA gets converted into DNA. DNA moves into the nucleus, where it is integrated into the host DNA by integrase. Then from there, messenger RNA is formed and RNA is also formed, and ultimately mRNA leads to proteins, and then these are packaged. As far as the HBV is concerned, enters inside, cccDNA is formed in the nucleus. RNA is, various types of RNAs are formed. mRNA is also formed, and then from reverse transcriptase, DNA is formed, and then proteins and DNA assemble, and then release occurs. In HCV infection, it is an RNA virus. Messenger RNA is formed, RNA replicates, then proteins and RNA assemble together, and then they are released. So this is the basic. Now if we see the in detail life cycle of HCV and HIV, I am not going into the HBV drugs because they have already been covered. So these are the various categories of drugs for HCV: protease inhibitors, NS5A inhibitors, which act at assembly and release, and NS5B polymerase inhibitors, which affect the HCV replication. And these are the drugs for that targets the HIV's life cycle: fusion inhibitors, reverse transcriptase inhibitors, which are nucleoside reverse transcript inhibitors, and non-nucleoside, non-nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors, integrase inhibitors, and protease inhibitors. So examples of HCV DAs, and red ones are available in India. Protease inhibitors have Previr suffix, 5B polymerase inhibitors have Buvir suffix, 5A as Asvir. So in India, these 3 are available: Sofosbuvir, Daclataxavir, Ladipasvir, and Velpatasvir. If we see the categories of anti-HIV drugs, now reverse transcriptase inhibitors are of 3 types: nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors, and non-nucleoside tide reverse transcriptase inhibitors. And these are the red ones are the first line recommended agents. For nucleoside, ampicillin, abacavir, lamivudine. For nucleotide, these 2 drugs are well known to us, TDF and TAF. Non-nucleoside tide reverse transcriptase inhibitors, efavirenz is the first line. Integrase inhibitors are first line agents. bictegravir and dolutegravir, and these are the other agents, entry inhibitors and protease inhibitors. Now blue ones that are available in the NACO national program, because we might get referrals from patients from NACO who are HIV positive, then they are more likely to be on these drugs rather than the first line agents. If we go to the management of co-infections, as far as HIV is concerned, the first line agent combinations are nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors plus nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors plus integrase inhibitors, or nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, and non-nucleotide non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. These are the basically two combinations which are used. Now we will see what are the recommendations. This is the latest recommendation of 2021 from the Department of Health and Human Services, and the first line agents are integrase inhibitors plus 2 reverse transcriptase inhibitors, bictegravir, TAF and emtricitabine, dolutegravir, abacavir and lamivudine, and this also dolutegravir, TAF TDF or lamivudine plus emtricitabine. This is what WHO recommends for first line agent of ART, dolutegravir, tenofovir, lamivudine or emtricitabine in non-pregnant. But if there is pregnancy or anticipation of pregnancy, then efavirenz has to be used instead of dolutegravir. But this is the NACO. In NACO, tenofovir, lamivudine and efavirenz, these are the first line ART agents. So what considerations we have to take when we are treating HIV and other co-infected patients? So HCV workup, these are the standard workup: genotype, RNA levels, staging, and we have to see whether there is they have been previously exposed, or is there any need of resistance testing in them. For the HIV status, these 3 tests should be done: HBsAg, total HBC and anti-HBs titers. For HIV workup, HIV RNA levels, CD4 resistance testing, that is if needed, and all other patients should be treated with creatinine. And what are the other medications, because there will be a lot of interactions between these medicines, and comorbidities like alcohol, fatty liver, etc. should also be considered. So basically all patients with HIV should be treated with potent ART irrespective of HIV levels or CD4 levels. And they should be HIV, HCV co-infected subjects should be treated and retreated in the same manner as HCV patients who are not HIV infection, but important thing is to recognize interactions with antiretroviral medications. Now there have been various studies which show that HCV DAAs have similar efficacy in patients with and without HIV co-infections. As can be seen, this is a compilation of various studies which show that HCV monoinfection versus HCV HIV co-infection, similar SVRs. This is the Astral 5 trial, SOF Velpa for 12 weeks in treatment of HIV HCV co-infected patients, whether cirrhosis is present or absence, whether prior treatment status, naive or experienced. Excellent results across all the groups of SOF and Velpa. Similarly, ION 4 for ledipasvir and sofosbuvir in genotype 1 and 4 for 12 weeks. Again, excellent results across all the groups. Cirrhosis is present or absent, treatment naive or experienced. LI2 with DAC and SOF for 12 weeks and 8 weeks. In this, it is important to note that 8 weeks of therapy is not recommended for DAC and SOFO because of the SVR rates are less in all patients as well as in genotype 1. Now, these drugs are not available in India, but Elbasvir, Grazoprevir and Glicopravir and Pitnasvir have very good, excellent SVRs in these patients. So first line HCV treatment, these highlighted ones are available in India for us. So almost all the genotypes, SOF, or SOF lady can be used for genotype 1, genotype 2, SOF well, genotype 4, SOF well, and SOF lady 5 and 6, SOF well and SOF lady can be used. But in genotype 3, if there is no cirrhosis, SOF Velpa, but in India, in national program, only Daclotasvir is available. So many patients will be on SOF and Daclo also. As far as recommendations are concerned, if there is compensated cirrhosis is present and we are planning to use SOF Velpatasvir, then we have to do resistance mutations for the NS5A, and if mutations are seen, then alternate agents like SOF-Vel or Ribavirin should be added. But practically, we should do this. Okay. Now we have to keep in mind the drug interactions. So tenofovir we are using. So for tenofovir is concerned, if we are using SOF-Vel or SOF-Ledipasvir, then the tenofovir should be avoided in patients who have estimated GFR less than 60, and avoid in patients who are on ritonavir or Cobicastate containing regimens. But for SOF-Dacla, it is safe. All other agents, first line agents, can be used safely with SOF-Vel, except Cobicastate boosted Elvitigravir. Efavirenz is also a first line agent, so many patients will be on efavirenz, but in such cases we have to avoid SOF-Velpatap. We can use SOF-Ledipasvir. If we are using SOF-Dac, then remember you have to increase the dose to 90 milligram per daily. And these drugs are not, some patients may be on these drugs also, so we have to keep in mind all these interactions. So best is to first check what HIV agents are they are on, and then check what interactions can be possible, and then modify accordingly. Now when we are starting patients with HCV HIV co-infection on treatment, that there are two scenarios. Number one is patients are already taking HIV drugs and HIV RNA is suppressed. Then the question is whether we need to adjust or switch the ART regimens so that we can use a specific DAA regimen. And second scenario is persons, they are not taking ART and we plan to start. Then the question is which infection to treat first, or whether they both can be treatment be started simultaneously. So if we plan to switch the ART regimen to facilitate the DAA therapy, then we have to keep certain things in mind. We should review the ART history for previous intolerance or HIV virological failures. If there is history of resistance, if we do not know that whether previous there was SCV resistance or not, then switch should not be contemplated, and consider a switch only if new regimen is likely to maintain the suppression of resistant viruses. Now if patients are having HBV co-infection, that is they are HBsAg positive, then we have to use two agents which are active against HBV, one nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors and one nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. So these two agents active against HBV must be used. And after switching the ART regimen, HIV RNA levels should be checked 4 weekly to see that HIV RNA is negative, and at least 4-week adjustment should be given before starting HCV DAs to ensure that the changed ART is tolerated and effective. Now it has been shown in many studies that switching does not lead to decrease in the SVR rates. In this study, it was shown that after switching to TAF-based regimens, the SVR rates were excellent. Similarly, there have been many large studies which show that if we change the ART or do not change the ART, the SVR rates actually remain the same. So if needed, ART therapies can be changed, but always remember to keep a gap of 4 weeks before starting DA so that the tolerance and effectiveness of ART regime can be assessed. Now, if patient is not on ART, then the question is which infection to treat first. If there is emergency in starting DAs, then HIV treatment and HIV RNA suppression are not required before HCV DAs, but Usually the ART should be initiated first, and delaying HCV DAS for 4 weeks to confirm tolerability and HIV RNA response. If that is feasible, it should be done. Now always keep in mind the potential of HBV reactivation. Dr. Ankur has covered this last week. So we are testing all patients before initiating DAA therapies for HBsAg, anti-HBC and anti-HBs. If HBsAg positive is there, patient is there, they should receive dual NRTI therapy. We have already discussed. One nucleotide analog plus one nucleoside analog, or Anticavir if TAF or TDF is not feasible, not available, or cannot be given. And initiate ART before DAA therapies because the risk of reactivation is DAA is there. So at least 2 weeks antiviral should be started. Now in many patients, about 50 to 60% of the patients will have isolated total anti-HBC or anti-HBs. But most patients, because they are HIV infected, they will already be receiving ART including tenofovir or TAF. If ART does not include these agents, then the risk of reactivation is very low, but monitoring of transaminase should be considered at week 4, week 12 and SVR 12, and HBV DNA at baseline, end of treatment, and SVR 12. If total core only is positive or anti-HBs is positive. So post SVR care, we should not forget. We should assess the fibrosis stage. If there is advanced fibrosis, in case of HIV, HCV co-infection, ultrasound and HCC surveillance is mandatory, and harm reduction and HCV RNAs every 12 months should be there. Alcohol, obesity and other comorbidities should also be taken care of. If HIV, HCV, HBV, all three viruses are there, then screening for HCC should be done in all infected patients irrespective of the fibrosis stage. So to summarize, all HIV patients need to be screened for HCV and HBV infections. All persons with HIV should be treated with ART irrespective of CD4 and HIV RNA levels. Efficacy and adverse events of HCV DAs among those with HCV HIV co-infection are similar to those of HCV alone, but it is important to remember the complex drug interactions that can occur between the DAs and antiretroviral medications. HIV, HCV, HBsAg positive should receive dual NRTI with anti-HBV activity. Always keep in mind the risk of reactivation also in only total core or anti-HBs positive subjects, and care should continue even after achievement of SVR.